Browns have a place.
So as we close this chapter today, remember we're here, come what may. Lonnie and friends, with life to impart. In the heart of the struggle, we play our part.
Through laughter, through pain, we thrive and ascend. Join the movement, on us you can depend.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Lonnie and Friends. My name is Lonnie Washington, and I have my good friend here, Tony Robinson, and we're going to talk a little bit today about some NFL headlines that we wanted to come to the microphone and talk to you about today. That has kind of popped up on our radar, and one of the biggest things that that we're going to be talking about today is the Desean Watson designation for return. The Cleveland Browns have opened a 21-day practice window for quarterback Desean Watson coming back from the Achilles injury from the PUP list. And the team has already started 3 different quarterbacks this season, including Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, and is currently in last place in the AFC North. But, the Desean Watson, the guy that got the $250 million contract and everything like that hurt his Achilles twice during the offseason, and the all-world quarterback, all right, he is opened up this 21-day window and is due possibly to return this season with 4 games left. So we'll be talking about that in just a moment here with Tony. Also, the Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert underwent successful surgery on his non-throwing hand. And his playing status this coming week here is yet to be determined. And if he cannot play, Trey Lance will take the reins for the Chargers. Also, the Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown is questionable for tomorrow night's game against the Dallas Cowboys with an ankle injury. And it would be a major blow to the already kind of struggling offense of the Detroit Lions, who didn't do well on Thanksgiving Day against the Packers. The Steelers, big news in Steeltown, they claimed wide receiver Adam Thielen off of waivers from the Vikings, and they mutually parted ways with cornerback Darius Slay. So, it's the Steelers, got rid of Darius Slay for obvious reasons, and he's an aging cornerback. Hasn't really done well with the Steelers, but Adam Thielen, they got him off of waivers because Adam Thielen, this will be his last season, and he kind of went to the Vikings and told the Vikings, "Hey, I would like to get released right now to try to go to a team that's going to make the playoffs potentially for my last season," and because he's been, the all world for them and just a great player for the Vikings. Vikings did him that solid. They didn't have to do it, but they did it. And now he has a chance to have a playoff run with the Steelers, which was really cool for them. And also, there's some turmoil, a little bit of rumblings in Steeltown. The organization is dealing with some internal frustration after a 7-point offensive output in their loss to the Bills. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers called the performance boo-worthy, right? And speculation is swirling around the head coach Mike Tomlin's future with the team. We'll talk about that in a second too. When if you're really talking about them possibly getting with Mike Tomlin, I don't even know. I got some things to say about it, but I'll reserve my comments for in just a few minutes. But what we really wanted to get on here and Tony, and really talk about is the Desean Watson deal, right? The Desean Watson, we've talked about him over the years. I mean, when they first got Desean Watson with the team, me and you had in-depth conversations before our podcast, and we talked about, I said, oh, that was a bad idea for them to get him, and you kind of ranting and was raving, and I get the excitement that all the Cleveland Brown fans had for Desean Watson because, man, he was so good when he was with the Houston Texans. And then, he had the problem, he had the suspension and everything going on. That's a whole nother story. But then, we thought that he was going to go and kind of have a great career with the Cleveland Browns. And any team would have thought that too, right? But it don't seem like he came with the same, he was the same person after this whole ordeal that he had. And then the Cleveland Browns, he had a few good games. He was kind of up and down with the Cleveland Browns. You guys are happy to get him because y'all shipped Baker Mayfield out of town, and you guys are all, joyful that Baker was gone, and now here comes Deshaun Watson. And then he fell short of the expectations, not only from the from the Cleveland Browns, but also the fans of Cleveland. And so, I'm gonna, say this to you. Give me a little bit of insight because everybody, if you don't know Tony, he's basically an insider for the Cleveland Browns, online and stuff, and he's kind of got his ear to the ground, and he's the best person to kind of talk about this. So Tony, what do you think about this Deshaun Watson deal, and how does this affect Shedeur Sanders? We've been talking a lot in the last few weeks about Shedeur Sanders. Could the Cleveland Browns and Stefanski be thinking, okay, well, we're going to give Sanders the hook. We're going to give him maybe 1 or 2 more starts, but we really have to see what Deshaun Watson is going to bring to the table, at least for a couple of games this season. What do you think about it? He's making a lot of money.
Well, I mean, what I heard recently is that they have that insurance money that's out there. That if he plays in any games and that money depletes, it's like $50-something million. That the Browns took out because for his contract for this year or something like that. That if he plays, then that obviously the numbers go down because they don't want to whatever they got that policy just to make sure that they're covered in case he doesn't play or whatever. But if they make him play, then it wouldn't make sense to me it wouldn't make sense to play him because of the money that they have sitting there in an insurance policy. So I don't understand what they're doing here. But I understand they open up the window. So this is what we have. So I feel like it's just to an extra push to Shedeur potentially. This is what I'm thinking in my mind, because that's the only thing I can see is that they're trying to put an extra fire under Shedeur for these last games and see what he can do and stuff like that to get him focused even more. I guess I don't know, but
wow, that's a hell of a
joke. This is just my brain just thinking outside the box and not staying with inside. What everybody sees. I feel like they're just trying to put a spark, but they may want to play him and have him as the backup just to see, have him at the number 2 spot and try to give Shedeur some more time to develop and stuff like that. Because Shedeur can't develop sitting on the bench. So
right.
Eventually you're going to have to let him play the whole season. Now, I don't know why Watson is even playing that, because I thought he was going to be out the whole season because of the
well let me ask you this, Tony. I heard he's been a good teammate, right? I heard that he's kind of been a mentor to Shedeur and all this stuff, and I think that's kind of like stand up, right? He could have just been stayed away from the team and man, I ain't, they didn't got 2 rookies. They didn't invested in the draft on 2 rookies, a 3rd round pick in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur, right? And then he could have easily said, I'm getting my money either way. I'm not going to, like Flacco. Flacco basically said, those rookies ain't my job, right? It ain't my job to it. But then Deshaun Watson comes up and you hear these stories about him, taking them under his wing, being a good teammate, doing all that thing. I think Stefanski was just on talking about how good Watson has been in the film room.
Yeah, he could be doing that, just showing that he's the perfect teammate just to see if he can get a spot back at the starting spot. I still like Deshaun Watson, but I just know that the Browns organization is over him because of the years of that we didn't get out of him for this contract. I know Watson can still throw the ball, and to go back to the one of the podcasts that we had on Chasing the Highlights. He was liking a lot of stuff that when it pertains to talking about Kevin Stefanski's play calling and stuff like that. And you said something earlier about he wasn't the same player when he came from Houston, right? Yeah. So I don't know how him playing for Kevin Stefanski is going to work if he does play, if he does want to play for Cleveland still with Kevin Stefanski. But that's the reason why his game went down, in my opinion, because he came to the wrong team. He came to the wrong team with the wrong coach, to say that.
Okay.
Because if we didn't have Kevin Stefanski and the way he runs his offense, I feel like because you see Flacco play, he was the shell of himself when he played in this this year's Kevin Stefanski's offense.
Yeah.
The last few years has been really bad for Kevin Stefanski. So with that being said, it's like Dylan Gabriel played bad, and then good thing they switched over to the other coach, Tom Reese and stuff like that, to Tommy Reese to coach to do the offensive coordinator stuff for Shador now. Because if he had Kevin Stefanski as a coach, I don't know if it would have been as much. He probably wouldn't play the same way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell. So yeah,
you don't know. And if this plays out where Shador gets the Titans and maybe another game, and then the last two games they want to see Deshaun Watson, how do you think that the fans overall are gonna kind of react to it? Like, just as you also being a fan too, and you having the kind of a pulse and the read of what's going on online with the Cleveland Browns fans, how do you think that what their reaction would be if they take Shador off and they put Deshaun Watson on for the last couple of games? Now, this would be Shador. If they give him a couple more games, Shador would have already played like 4 games, right?
Mhm.
And then they give Deshaun 2. Do you think that there would be a problem with the fan base if they did that? Because now they gave Shador, they gave Dylan Gabriel, and now they've seen Deshaun the last couple of games.
I guess it depends how he plays. I mean, how Shador plays. If Shador is playing lights out, these Tennessee game, he should be playing good. If he plays, and then he plays Buffalo, I think we have after that.
Mm-hmm.
If he plays good, those 2 games, it's like, what's the point in like going to Watson in my mind?
Right.
But if they did go that route, like you said, for me, I support the QB1 that's in until they show me something wrong. Until they show me that they can't play the position, I'm like, I can't look at bad football because I've been looking at it for 40 since I was born. Into this. I've been born into this.
I mean,
So,
he might look bad. Look, he might look good against. Shador could look good against the Titans. We spoke about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're not disputing that. But Buffalo, that might be a different animal. Even though Buffalo's defense is not quite really what we'd like to see them at, but they're still going to put a lot of things on his plate that he might not can handle.
But we have to see it though, because we had to see the 49ers game. He played okay, but we have to see what he does against Buffalo, because Buffalo is a division or a conference team that we will have to
they're a
go against.
perennial playoff team the last 5 years. So I mean,
we want to see that. We want to see how he goes against Josh Allen. Like, what's his preparation? Like, how his mindset is in the game. How is he gonna? It's gonna be too big for him, or too, or he's gonna tank. You just never know how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
So, for a rookie, that's what he needs. He needs to be playing against the best players.
Right.
And Purdy's not the top player. The whole entire 49ers team is good because you got McCaffrey and all those guys. So it's not Purdy so he needs to go against the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, and all that stuff like that. Even though Lamar Jackson's playing kind of weak right now, but
yeah. I mean, but their defense, they play on opposite sides of the ball. But the defenses of these teams, and they're going to scheme against a rookie, and how does he handle that will go a long way into knowing whether he can handle. And this is what I was kind of saying. Like, I didn't think Shador Sanders had time. Like, everybody kept saying, "Oh, well, he's only a rookie. He needs time." Well, we understand that. But when you're a 5th-round rookie, whatever you say, we've already been through that of why he shouldn't have been a 5th-rounder. But we always say he don't have time, because you only get one shot when you're not drafted at number 1 pick.
Yeah, but I don't think that Watson is that time either. Like, I don't feel like Watson is going to be an issue. I feel like it's just they're just doing something to push him even more. Because a lot of times even though I don't think Watson's going to play the rest of the season, I feel like they still want him to be on the field, like practicing with him, going through all the progression, like, actually leading from that standpoint, instead of just sitting on the sideline and not suiting up in practice.
And here's another theory I'm going to give you, right? Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking that they need to give Watson a couple of games to see what his trade value might be. Right. And I'm thinking this. All right. So you have an asset that's a very, very expensive, but after this year, I think that your risk go down a little bit for any team that grabs them. I'm thinking that you got to be able to show a team. All right. Well, he played the last 2 games. This is what he did his last 2 games. If he balls out, then maybe people say, "Wait a minute, we still got our guy on the field that he just balled out. He's just been hurt." Right. Or they say, okay, we're gonna trade him to somebody and get some picks, some more picks that they have now. He's not a number one, of course, they're not gonna get for him, but maybe a fourth, right? Maybe a fifth round or somebody to give before Desean Watson that is on a cap friendly contract, whatever. So I think that they're trying to get him in front for a couple games. And I think that would be smart for the Cleveland Browns. I don't think it has nothing to do with Shador, but this is the NFL. This is football.
I mean, that's a good take on that. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, I wasn't thinking that, but when you spark it, it makes a lot of sense, because if we're trying to see if we're going to build around Shador, then or anybody or Dylan Gabriel. I mean, because I know what it looks like.
I know it's not Dylan Gabriel.
I know it's not Dylan Gabriel, but if you want to build around Shador, you have to start, creating pieces off of that big. We got to get rid of one of those big time contracts. We have one on the defensive side, one on the offensive side, and one on the offensive side hasn't done anything for us. Right. So when you think about it like that, you have to try to get as much back as possible for that contract. Like you said, to try to build this thing. You got to build the offense. You got to build the offensive line up again. You got to try to get a number one, a big wide receiver, a big number one wide receiver, like AJ Brown, or like I don't think that's going to happen, but we need a big guy like that. That's a number one, because Judy is not it, because he's a number two at best, like a solid number two. If he has a number one with him, he can play, because he'll open up a lot more, But if you have a true number one, and then just build the offense, and like
I would take Jerry Jeudy in a heartbeat. I don't know about you and the Commanders. I would take Jerry Jeudy in a heartbeat. But when we're so that kind of takes everything away from Desean Watson. We'll leave that in the stuff. We kind of got our explanation from you and just some thoughts on that. But also staying in the AFC North. There's been some grumblings in Steeler Town about Mike Tomlin, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because he's been there 18, 19 years, right? He's probably the longest tenured coach, I think, in the NFL right now, and he's a winner. He's a winner. But until you get in the playoffs, he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016, and he's probably been outscored like 76-0 in the playoff games that he has been in, that he's lost in the first quarter, right? He has not had his team prepared to play in the playoffs, and he hasn't had a win since 2016. So, maybe that well is getting a little bit dry in Steeler Town, but I just can't believe, right? I just can't believe, Tony, that if this guy became available, that teams wouldn't be firing their current head coach that was on the bubble just to go after Mike Tomlin. I mean, he would not. Okay, so Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm gonna say this to you, all right, and I gotta say this to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, if you fire Mike Tomlin after this season, Mike Tomlin will have a job in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, right? And you don't want him to go to Cleveland. Right, you don't want him to go to any divisional. Baltimore is safe, okay, but you don't want him to go to any team in the AFC, because Mike Tomlin is the ultimate professional. The way he works and he operates, man, he has stability. The players believe in him. It's just that sometimes I look at this like an Andy Reid, right? Andy Reid was with Philadelphia for so long, and then they saw he ain't winning, he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that. So you know what? He goes to Kansas City Chiefs and becomes a Hall of Fame coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. So and Mike Tomlin is still young. I think Mike Tomlin is probably like 53, maybe 54 at the most. So he still has a lot of tread on his tires. Now, mentally, whether or not he can stomach going to another team or not, that's a whole nother story. But Tony, what do you think about that? If Mike Tomlin was to come available, how would that change things, and do you think Cleveland Browns would say, "Oh hell yeah, we would take you," or any other team in the NFL?
Well, I saw a couple things that came out about him. They wanted to go for that Penn State job, but I'm like, why would that's like a demotion to me, in my opinion.
No.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't do that. But I'm telling you, if this is the kind of coach, if I was a GM for the Browns, right? If this is the kind of coach that comes available, especially from somebody in our division, we taking this guy. Like I'm getting rid of Stefanski. Like the same as soon as the message dropped that he's released, that he's good. We're getting walking papers for Kevin Stefanski. You know,
Just think about
I
that.
got two phones like this. I got one for Tomlin, one for Stefanski. Like, oh, you good? Kick rocks with bare
That's
feet.
right.
Pretty much. That's how I'm looking at it. You know, this is the kind of guy, you know, he's gonna come in and change your organization. He's gonna instill like the values of what a team needs to win. Even though he hasn't won in the playoffs, he's 20 plus years of like no losing seasons. Like,
Yeah.
he's still, even though he's not winning, it's we're in the business of winning here, right? In the NFL,
Yep.
but he's getting you there. He just he needs a quarter. Once he lost Roethlisberger, it went like this. When you have a quarterback that's, when he has his quarterback, and I think Shador could be his quarterback, and we got
Well,
this new stadium. We have this new stadium. Yeah, we have this new stadium being built. We have all this stuff going on that falls in line with him being our coach. But I don't know.
That would be kind of it would be kind of wild. But I'm thinking that you guys have a top-ranked defense, right? And he's a defensive guy. Wow. I mean, can you imagine this guy motivating the Cleveland Browns defense every game, and how he inspires players, and you guys already have the talent there, and what he would mean for Garrett's career even more. So, man, it'd be scary if you guys got him and he's a defensive coach and hearing him barking in the locker room and motivating the defense and everything crazy.
Just matching him with somebody of Shador's like caliber, like where he is with his confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need a coach like this that has the same kind of confidence, is going to have his back and not try to like finagle or like do some backdoor like shady stuff on them, stuff like that. They need alignment with the coach, the quarterback, all the way up to the owner, and it starts with the coach. If the coach is in line with everything that's going on, and you have, this guy has a history of winning. I mean, even though it's not the playoffs, we need somebody that can actually turn this thing around, and I think he is it.
Yeah. Yeah, I I'm hearing some people commenting on my bald head, so it's kind of funny that I'm hearing people comment on my head. Yeah, I got a big head. I got a big bald head, but, I'm handsome though. I look good behind the camera. That's why you on the other side and you ain't in my chair. Right. But, thanks for all the comments. It's all love. Right.
When you tall, you can't have a small head,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm 6'7", so they don't know we're tall.
I make sure my bald head shines too. You know what I'm saying? My bald head shines. I make sure that my head ain't dry. It looks juicy. The light hits it or whatever. And I don't even have any ring lights on. My ring lights are off right now. It's daytime here in Arizona. So, I'm kind of laughing about that. That's kind of funny. But if that make you guys tune in again on the show, just to see my big bald head, right? So that's funny. But yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, man. I can't wait till tomorrow. The Thursday night game is that the Cowboys at the Lions, and see how the rest of the games, come out the rest of the week. I'm excited to see, this week's games, because now we're in the playoff season. Even though the Cleveland Browns are not there, even though the Commanders are not there, I welcome just being a fan of the NFL and what the NFL is going to bring to the table over the next couple of months, into the Super Bowl. And that's what people don't realize, right? People don't realize that, these games are very important, even if your team is in it. I'm still a fan. I'll still get my wings. Whoever goes to the Super Bowl, I still have my pizza and wings and watch all the commercials. And I'm going to watch everything all the way through. So that's pretty cool. So with that being said, Tony, thank you for popping on here on Lonnie and Friends. I really appreciate your insight and everything, buddy. We're going to get off here now, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Lonnie and Friends. You have a good day.
Creating love in this crazy life race. And Lonnie and Friends, you'll always have a place.
So as we close this chapter today, remember